or another, like a Kopitar.
I don't sense that being around him today and watching him play hockey. Malkin's a player that likes to get the puck with speed so he can pick through players. And I think there was a lot of times where he would arrive in the last couple of years and not have that chemistry with whoever he was playing with. And then they got in a situation where they were forcing plays, but now it looks like he's just playing hockey. He's reading off his line mates. He understands their size. Mantha has good enough hands to get him the puck at certain times. You watch him, if he's moving and gets the puck, you can't stop him because he's got the range, he's got the base with his legs, he's got the skill to make the move, he makes the quick play. And the way those three are playing, plus the defense involved, I just see him playing hockey. So when I see a player like that, with that kind of pedigree, he's healthy, and being able to play the game the way he wants to, I don't know why you would ever stop. I think that there's a kind of a refreshment in Malkin's game, and he needs the line mates around him, and I think that's why we're seeing this. I don't know if he's going to retire, but here we are a dozen games into the season, and we're talking about Malkin and Crosby leading their team and leading the way, and this team being one of the tops in the National Hockey League. It's great for them, but it's even more exciting in that locker room. I really am impressed and got a really good sense of just kind of the spirit of what they have going on right now. And, when you see an athlete at that stage in their career having that much fun, I think it puts doubt in his mind as to whether he should hang him up or not.
Well, and it's curious because you're looking at Pittsburgh, they're having great success, and you're saying they're doing it on the backs of these superstars, their most important people. They're going up against the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, and tonight, like Matthews scores last game, he's 12 games into the year, he's got 9 points. This is for a guy who's had multiple 100-plus point seasons, won a Hart Trophy. Is it a vibes thing where just Pittsburgh has a good vibe going and that kind of helps everyone out? Because Toronto still seems to be kind of searching for their own good vibes right now.
You know what? It's interesting because I remember watching Sid a couple of years ago, and they were searching for line mates for him. Remember, Russ was hurt, and he had Gensel was gone, and you could see in Sid's game there was times where he would take the long change, and that kind of frustration was grown over him, where it was like he's trying to make the play, he makes the play to someone else, the puck ends up out of the zone, he's back checking. It's a waste of a shift almost, where I feel like with Austin, Marner's good. That's a big adjustment for him to lose Mitch Marner and the times that he had him on the ice to carry the puck. And Matthews is a centerman, and centermen generally are puck distributors, not just the shooters. And you need to have a guy that can draw the attention, find and get to the dirty areas so he can find that kind of soft spot that he's scored all those goals from. He's going through a major adjustment. And I think, of course, Nyes is back on his line tonight. Robertson's up there who has potential, but he can't try to be Mitch Marner. But there's an element of Austin Matthews, which I think is just a little bit off. I wouldn't call him heartbroken, but I think it's just like, geez, he's missing a dynamic spark that he's going to have to find himself. I think there's a part of his game that he's going to have to adjust, like we've seen other superstars. I think even McKinnon went through it last year when Nate just wasn't really settled in there, and he lost Rantanen. That dynamic duo, there's a lot that goes into that from both parts of it. But when you lose it, the adjustment period, it doesn't need to be an adjustment period. It needs to be a realization that you have to change your game a little bit, not just score goals from that dead area, and also not just play defense as a defensive centerman. He's a dynamic guy that can break over the game. He's just not in that gear yet. That's what I'm seeing.
One of the bright spots early has been John Tavares and the ability still to score points, get goals. He looks like he's on his way to another solid season, whether that ends up being around his average of 80 points a year. But it's a good sign early, and a lot of Leaf fans really excited, and especially our Sammy here, that it's a fraction of the cost of the $11 million they've been paying for in the past.
You know what? It's you're lucky to have John Tavares. It's a lot to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. I've never been a Maple Leaf, but I've always been a guy that's come into this market, and you feel the pressure on these players, but you also see what comes with being a Toronto Maple Leaf. There's a lot of great that comes being a member of anyone that's been a member of this team. And I know a lot of players that have played here, and they love it. They love the way they're treated. They love the way the locker room is. They love the way it's a special and a different vibe. And I think John Tavares, being a local guy and wanting to be here and wanting to bring a Stanley Cup, I mean, his passion and the way he works at his game and the way he understands everyone's always watching him. You know, it's one of those athletes that you see come around once in a while, and his value will be tremendous while he's here. But when he's gone, you know, he will affect other players in a positive way, because even watching him today practice, taking face-offs, working on his stride, working on little parts of the game, getting out there early and working at it. You know, he's a guy that wants to do right and wants these headlines and everything to be talked about in a positive way and get things turned around. And I think that's the real, I guess, the temperature teller for Craig Berube is John Tavares. You know, he knows he doesn't have to worry about John's effort, what he's going to do in the defensive zone, how he's going to be responsible. And it's good for the young kids they have, or some of the young kids they have here. And I think that, you know, that's an important piece here, and it's good that he's having success, because his voice it will always be loud, but it's even a little louder and even a little more impressionable when he plays that way. And we've all played with guys like that, where it's just like, you know, you always have the guy in the locker room that you can always look at and, you know, wonder if things are going right, or how you should act, or what you're thinking of the situation. It's good to see him having that success, but I think his value is still so high with the media and with everything that goes on with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
For sure. Jody, last one for me. Just wanted to get your thoughts on playing on a team where there's internal competition. Right now, the Leafs have added Sammy Blais. Robertson wants to be in, and Michelli might come out, and McMahon might come out, Lorentz, Lawton. They have all these depth guys, and they're fighting for not that many spots. You know, we always hear that it's a positive. Have you felt that it's something that's good for the team typically?
It's hard when you're the guy on the fourth line, they'll tell you that's just trying to stay in the lineup,
Yeah.
you know. But it is really good. It keeps you sharp. I mean, it's something that, you know, I played 12 years. I had to battle for every day of practice and every day in the game, and I knew there was always someone that could take that spot in my lineup. So I would leave the rink and shut it off briefly, but then, you know, I would be in conversations or at dinners, but my engine was still turning about, okay, like you gotta be ready for whatever's to come the next day. And I always like competition within the lineup to a certain point for the top end guys on power plays and minutes, because once the wrong guy gets put in a situation where, you know, the whole team knows he should be there, then it affects the whole team. There's a trickle-down effect with that. So I think they're the consistency, not to just keep those guys happy, but to let them work through some things. I think that's important for a team dynamic in those situations, for sure.
One more, Jody, and we know during your telecast you won't get Chris Tanev tonight to call during the hockey game. We all saw him get carted off on a stretcher here. We know how important he is to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he'll be turning 36